How do you know it's Saturday and you're not going to get anything done? Well, some arsehole in a self-entitled mini breeder chariot just blocks the door to your unit. So yeah, you better believe I've just parked the car in front of it, because we're going to have a wee chat. Right. Okay, that whole rear measurement load of guff from the last episode is literally that, a load of guff, because none of it has a bearing, because now we know that the shocks and the rear were still sitting on the bump stops, so it's irrelevant. We're gonna have to start from scratch. In order to set this ride height correctly, we are ignoring arch gap, because remember, the rears are the only things that actually have gaps, because the front arches are an integral part of the wheel. So none of arch gap measurement is going to make a difference. Also, I want this car to be usable. It's got to handle well. If the scene crew think that I've got too much arch gap in the back, I don't really care. It's not going to be as wild, obviously, as what we had in the first run out, because that was just obscene. However, that's not critical. So we're not going to measure this to arch gap, with the only exception that we need to make sure that side matches the other side. Otherwise, that is irrelevant. What I have measured is the ground clearance to the front and the ground clearance to the back. Now, this is not representative of its actual ride height, because the car's sitting in dollies. Now, that obviously may have problems, but we're only looking for a rough figure here. We have got 240 in the front, 240 in the rear. The car is completely leveled out, and we have made sure that that is the case with jacks, axle stands, you name it, because there are no springs in the car. What that gives me is a level point. The level point here is 3 degrees, front, rear, left and right. All over, all correct. Now remember, these are all sat on the same chassis level, so they are going to be needing to be the same level in order for the ride height to be correct. Therefore, if they're all at 3 degrees, that's going to also be correct. Make sense? Now, what we need to establish is what this distance needs to be. And that's where it gets a bit tricky. On the fronts, that's a 45-degree angle, but on the backs, it is as near as damn it a 90-degree angle. So these are not going to be representative front to rear. But despite that, the interesting point comes when you look at what the target ride heights need to be. So we had a wee touch on this in the last episode, and with the car sat at this position, my target distance for the shocks in the front should be about 13 inch. Could go higher, could go lower, half an inch of variance. And then the rears are also 13.75, so as near as damn it, the same as the front. The fronts are obviously got a bit of criticality, with 15 inch being the maximum distance that we can have for these to be unladen before they won't physically fit, but that's okay, because most shocks go as high as 14 inch when you're buying the correct ones. The rears have no such limit because they've got masses of travel, so that's not going to be a problem. Now, while we wait for all that to arrive, I need to find something else to do. So let's deal with this inlet manifold. What?
High cost. This is not a low cost. The cost has not been low.
Anyway.
The cost has been very high.
That's plenty.
In both monetary values and emotionally.
Yeah, because your stuff goes peachy. Anyway, I was obviously not going to put this manky manifold back on without dealing with it, so we painted it. Not entirely sure how well it sits against that, but it is at least painted. Now, we need to look into other things while I wait for springs and shocks to arrive.
Yes,
namely
figure out why it runs a bit weird.
Why it runs like a bag of bolts. Yeah. That's going to be a shout. So we have a couple of options here. The problem, to recap, is the car will start, the car will run, the car will do all the idly things and rev. But when I put it in gear and try and drive away, all the power dies. And that's not like, oh, it feels a bit limp. It just does
doesn't like
nothing.
any load at all.
Nah. So my suspicion is there's maybe something gearboxy, drivey, sensor, speedy related that it's looking for and it's not getting. So I can't imagine why that would be the case. But what we could do is put the standard ECU in and try and work all that out and walk the whole path.
Yeah, that could take ages.
There's no point because we've got the ME ECU.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do instead is put the ME in and then try that and see.
Because if there's something obvious, then we'll see it as soon as we turn the car on. So it might be one of these things that there is a sensor that's not getting any signal.
Yeah.
And all we need to do is fix that, and then it'll run fine on the stock ECU as well.
Yeah.
So,
but I can't do that because when
was borrowed.
when we were turbocharging an MX-5, I may have done many crimes to this. So the reason, by the way, that we ended up putting throttle bodies on wasn't just because I needed to check the size. It was because I needed the wee offset washers for the fuel rail because I couldn't find the ones in the kit that arrived. But then I found them and then I was like, well, right, okay, we'll just put that on anyway. But that wasn't the sum total of the crimes of harvesting parts from my Locost.
Yeah, the fuel pressure regulator gets stolen as well.
Yeah, because that had a better one than the MX-5 did. So I've stuck this Malpassi style horror story that isn't very good back on there just to stop the fuel dripping out. But the other reason why I'm not just keeping this one is because it doesn't fit my bloody brackets. Like, why can't there just be a standardised, this is what a fuel pressure regulator bolts up?
Know. They all have different
It's ridiculous. So needless to say, as this would be the third fuel pressure regulator that I'd have to fudge into here, I've given up and I've ordered an EM one.
So it just fits in the same space.
I'll just spend 150 quid so I don't have to make even more holes in brackets.
They are good though, to be fair.
I mean, it was good enough before.
Yeah, they are good.
So once that arrives, we can fire this thing up again.
Yeah.
This will be important on my quest later. So obviously I've bought a replacement, which I was about to fit 3 days ago, before I remembered that the replacement obviously does not include any of the actual fittings that you need. I've moaned about this before, I know I've moaned about this before, but I'm going to moan about it again. What's the point in buying a fuel pressure regulator if you've got nothing to plug a fuel line in with? Like, behold the ProTech shock absorber. This is a British company, which is always good. It means that when you order things, you have some level of comeback. However, in this instance, I think we're all right. So delivery time, they literally make these custom, and I ordered this 3 days ago. It's here. So that's a big green tick as well. So they are fully customizable. Now when I say fully, you can customize this to be bearings or bushes. I went for bushes because I'm actually kind of tired of having to deal with the whole shimming and the little spacers that the other ones had. So bushes will be fine. You can get them in half size increments. So these are 14-inch for the back. Going to try them in the front. I'll get to that in a minute. And you can also change the poundage of the spring, fully customizable, along with the length. Fully customizable. You couldn't ask for more, and price point, genuinely, to the point where I would think I'd use these on other cars if I could get the pedestals right. Obviously, you are kind of limited by pin and pin, so your car has to be designed for that, but my good God, what a time saver these are. I'm just hoping the quality's up there with the level of what I've found so far, but I can't imagine why it wouldn't be. So I'm going to fire these on. I'm just going to say I'm going to fire these on. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Right, so the last thing on the list was suspension. So these are 14-inch length, right? and the £250 springs. Now, £250 was never going to be my selection for the front. These are the back ones. Now, what I've done is put them in the front, not for the springs, obviously I've just put it down to demonstrate them, but I wanted to check the lengths because I've got a funny feeling it should be 14, but having looked at where the ride height needs to be versus the amount of travel that I actually have, I'm thinking 14 and a half is more than likely going to be what I need. It's car alarm. You have no idea how many intervals I need to look for to film here with audio that doesn't have things in the background. So what I now need to do, bear with me. So what I actually now need to do, I have painted, f***ing Jesus, man. I have painted this up, having now fully welded it. So that is now at the same height as the other one, which is probably where it should have been to begin with. So we can take these off here, put them on here, and now I know exactly what I need for the front, which will result in a car that actually has the correct springs on it. If that works, by the way, and it should work, but once that works, we are more or less turnkey. More or less. I've got one last crime to report, because in my effort to remove these from an MX-5 and put on turbo stuff, there may have been a donation. So that's the throttle position sensor, or it was. So yeah, I've got a replacement coming. Just need to wait on the postman. Modify cars, they say. Right, so following my test fit on the back, we now have another set or pair of ProTech shocks. These are now 14 and a half because I just feel like the fronts need that extra half inch, and we have gone up to £400 springs. Now I'm not going to be planning on driving this car on the road much, so I want something pretty decent poundage wise, and well, 350 is what's normally recommended, and I think the ones that I've put in the back seem soft enough. Don't forget, if I need to change these, they're only 70 quid a pair for the springs, so off the shelf solution, I can customise this as I see fit. But all that remains now is to chuck them on the front, and that is hopefully going to resolve the squint. There's a brine. Not so squint now, are ye? That I'm going to take as a win. And now somebody pointed out, I think it was maybe one of my Patreons, that at some point in this build it would be nice if I just bought something and it just worked without any level of drama. Well, I present to you the two shocks. Replaced, on, and no drama. So, that's not to say I've not found drama, but yeah, all right, I'll show you the drama. So we have maybe some slight issues now with ground clearance which I've only just discovered because the car finally sits at the right height that it should. But that, whilst I'm going to say is a job for another episode, is actually not going to stop me getting that out and taking it for a drive and checking everything else doesn't work. So what's the next episode? We do exactly that. Anyway, until then, patreon.com/toolsandtrack if you want to say well done for being such an awesome car builder. If not, cool, like, bell and subscribe because it's the only way we grow. And until next weekend, guys, drive safe.